difference between Instagram and this is much more customized, whereas your vehicle has all your social media, has pictures of your vehicle, but then the bigger thing is it has a list of all your modifications underneath.
Today, I had to take on some extra questions behind the scenes because even though I always say we talk before the show and then ruin some of the information, I needed to talk to Alex here. So we have Alex Batory, and he has Builds.Company, which is really cool, and I needed him to explain it to me, so I'm going to need him to explain it to you, and then we'll get into the whole history because he's way more than just this one segment. He's actually a pretty in sequence with the car scene, a little more than I thought. So, Alex, let everybody know what you do and who you are.
Yeah, so I've been in the car industry for a long time, and I'm a passionate car enthusiast myself. And so that's kind of how I've always been into cars. I've always been into drifting, track days, and then for the last 6 years now, I've been hosting track days at Lime Rock, which is a lot of fun. I did a lot of drifting as well with Lock City. Down in Thompson, so they're great guys.
They're coming up a lot. I hear about Lock City a lot.
Yeah, Michael, the owner, he's a really good guy, and he has I think he runs a really good program there. So definitely hats off to him for running it. I know, running my own shows too. I know how it's very stressful.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the biggest thing is safety and liability. You don't, you want everybody to have fun, but you also don't want. Any kind of incidents to happen, or or people getting
nobody
hurt.
wants to wait on them. So
are
they drifting at Lime Rock?
No. So actually, Mike and Lock City, they used to drift at Lime Rock years ago, and then drifting is kind of a scene where a lot of people look down on it.
Yeah, and cars.
But I think that's starting to slowly turn around. I personally love it. I think if you ever drifted and experienced it, then it's a whole new outlook for people. Until you haven't done it, it's kind of hard to, it kind of seems like pointless because, grip racing, you have to, you get timed, so there's an actual goal to there to see who's the fastest, but drifting is more of a style, I would say, and just it's just a lot of fun.
It's like
it takes a lot of skill. I mean, you're basically controlling your car sideways. Which it sounds insane, but it's a lot of fun once you learn how to do it.
Yeah, it looks pretty amazing. When that's why I was saying before, is that I'm trying to get so many different people in so they could see the different values in all the different industries. Because when you really look at the drifting, it's actually really cool. And the tolerance you're talking at high.
Yeah, I mean, you have to appreciate if you look, especially the professional drifters. I know a couple of guys like Dimitri and Brian Wadman. They're two really big local drifters here in Connecticut. But I mean, if you look at tandem drifting, even in the pro spec or even on the amateur level, I mean, they're literally within inches of each other sideways.
It's crazy.
So you have to kind of appreciate, it does take a lot of skill.
It's got to feel really cool doing it.
It feels awesome. It's an amazing feeling. Once you start learning how to tandem and catch the car from one angle going into the other angle, and the cool thing is when you're able to link an entire track, that's probably one of the best feelings.
Yeah, the whole thing. That's really cool.
So I recommend it to everybody. If you've never tried it, I would say
it's worth it.
Either do a ride along, because I know if you go out to Lock City, they're really cool there. You can get ride-alongs with people. You just usually need a helmet, or usually they have a helmet there.
I don't think I could do that. I watched the videos where people do it, not at the track, where they just scare people and they just take them for a ride. And I'm like I'd be the scared. I like with a pedal and a brake. I don't give a crap. I'll do anything. But when you're in the passenger seat, I don't trust anybody.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I'm like that with airplanes.
Yes.
I mean, I've had R1s. I've been to motorcycles, and I've topped those out.
But not on the back.
But not on the back. And airplanes are one of my fears, is because I don't have control of it.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in the back. I don't see what's going on, so it's kind of like.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. It's funny because when you said the airplanes, one of our customers wanted to fly us down. Well, it was kind of funny because I want you to look at some of a couple of cars at Hershey's for us at the car show, and because we wanted to purchase them. So I'm like, okay, great. So I thought we were going to drive down, and no, he goes, we'll take our private jet, So I'm like, well, I've never been on a small plane before, and I'm like really nervous. He goes, our plane isn't small.
Yeah.
But when you get on it, it's the same, because you're sitting there, and you're like going, everything's in this guy's hand. And what's weird, I didn't realize on like the private jets, I mean, well, even with planes, because you're never up front, you're not looking down like you're looking at a road. You're like this, so you just see clouds and gauges, and it's nerve-wracking to trust someone.
I mean, you just kind of see out the side of the window, and that's it. So.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, yep. I kind of started my motorsport career in racing.
And how long you been into the drifting and racing and stuff?
The track days I've like I said I've been hosting for 6 years, but I've probably been doing for 8 or 9 years,
Wow.
and I just do it for fun. I'm not professional in
Yeah,
regards.
you just enjoy it as a passion.
Yeah, it's just a passion. It's just a hobby. I mean, it's so expensive to get into actual racing and to even be competitive. It's
Yeah, I
it's a
can't
crazy
imagine
amount
like
of money.
well, I know like road racing and the expenses of that, and I thought it was funny because you used to look at certain racing like NASCAR and drag racing, things like that, and you used to have more sponsorship, and a lot of the road racing I always enjoyed because there's a lot more aspects of it.
Yep.
You know, your car is not just going a circle or going straight, you're going everywhere. But the sponsorship was always weird with that. You had a lot less. They paid more, but to run those cars was expensive.
Oh yeah,
You know, it's crazy.
Yeah. A couple of my buddies, one in particular, he actually has a pretty big YouTube channel. His name is Quinn. You guys might have. He's actually a really big Miata guy. And
Is he up in like Windsor Locks or something like that?
He's actually out of Terryville, I believe.
Okay.
But they have a pretty good channel. I think they have about 45,000 followers on there. They started off with Miatas. I mean, he has a bunch of other cars now, but he's an awesome driver. I know he did I think I was Miata Pro Spec or some kind of Pro Spec Miata racing. Really good driver, but you know, it's really hard to make it professionally in racing
I
now.
bet.
So
Yeah, I could list 1,000 people who don't even aren't even close to even being someone considered
Yeah.
who want to be a race car driver.
Yep.
And then when you realize, I think it's funny because I used to look at when I was a kid, I was really into music, playing drums and stuff like that, and I thought I was so good. And then you look at people who are really good, like my kids got into it,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh my god, there's so much more involved in everything.
Oh, yeah.
When you get to that next tier.
I feel like to be professional and competitive, or be professionally competitive, you have to start off at a young age here.
Yeah.
Like teens, probably 8, 9 years old plus.
And
you
just
see a lot of these guys that Hamilton, all these really good guys. You've seen a lot of these guys are all starting off from the early teen
and now
ages.
they're killing it.
And then now they're killing it.
I wonder if it's tough now. Like you look at the Formula Drift. It's got to be tough for people to start off, like you're saying, at an older age.
Formula Drift is really hard too because like I said, I spoke with a couple of my prospect buddies, and they say the amount of money, because there isn't as much money in drifting as there is in grip racing.
Really?
So I mean there is, but you have to be really good to get and sponsorship now is a lot harder than it used to be, especially for drifting. It's just like a lot of other stuff that the sport right now itself is so, there's so many people in it now that the competitiveness is
Well, it's kind of funny because I was thinking when Rachel was on, what I thought was good is because I know that from the opposite side, from being a sponsor and sponsoring people, a lot of times, or what's happening now is you get someone who might be good and they're in it for a minute.
Yeah.
And so you put a lot of investment into that person, but then in a year they're gone. So I was thinking with what she's doing or they're doing, you're more of a business and you're working with a network of people. So someone might be more apt to sponsor through that, I would think, because now you have more of a commitment base where this person might be here for 4 or 5 years or 6 years. Because we went through it years ago with motorcycle stunt riders.
Okay.
I went to go do it, and one of my buddies was more experienced than me. He goes, "You're an idiot." He goes, "Their shelf life is 3 weeks." And then I started to become friends with a lot of guys, and the first guy that I met, he was hobbling around worse than I am now. This is 20 years ago, and I'm like, "Holy cow!" I go, "What's up with you?" He goes, he goes, "I crashed a bike so much, I'm all messed up." I go, "How old are you?" He goes, 22. And I'm like, "Holy cow! When you're 50, you're done."
Yeah.
And then the next year, he got hurt, and the bike, he was out of commission for, I think 7-8 months, which is up here. It's pretty much the entire season.
Yeah.
So it's a lot riding on when you're a sponsor, looking at sponsors. So I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I think a lot of people. We have a lot of motorsport enthusiasts here in the Northeast that do
Huge.
a lot of track days, drifting, drag racing. So, but I think for most people, it's a hobby, which is fine. I don't want to do it professionally at this point
you should
anyway.
enjoy
So
it,
I'm
yeah.
happy with enjoying it. And
How do you? So do you go to Lime Rock other than the stuff you're setting up too?
No, I mostly. I mean, whenever I host my track days, I'm able to run on the track myself. So,
Okay.
And I usually have anywhere from 3 to 5 track days a year.
I was wondering how they're doing. I was trying to get someone to come on because I don't really know anybody out there, but I was wondering how their attendance is, because that's a tougher sport. It's a more expensive sport, and a lot of people are hobbyists. And I was wondering, through COVID and all this stuff, how they made out, if they're still jamming or what.
Oh, you're talking about the
actual
businesses?
motorsports play, the track itself.
Yeah, I mean the track itself, Lime Rock, I will say, is a legendary track.
Huge,
And but it's very expensive at the same time. So compared to like Thompson Speedway, you're looking at, it's probably like double the price to rent a track on there.
I'm sure.
But it's a much
it's
more
an incredibly beautiful
track. So, so you get people that will still pay and go to it. So
I was amazed. It was funny because we went up to, we did the school build an Electron carbon fiber car to do the race up there.
Yep.
And so we went up there and I was driving and there's like, I looked down and there's like this valley and there's little, like a tiny log cabin on a river. And I go, I got to buy that. It's beautiful. And then I Google it, look it up, and watch it. Wasn't even Google then, but just look it up, and it was like back then $900,000 for this little 600 square foot cottage. I go, it's pretty expensive up there.
Yeah,
it's nice.
Lime Rock's a good place. So, but yeah, and then so I kind of got into that, and I have a big involvement in car shows as well. I actually hosted a couple of car shows myself in the beginning, 3-4 years ago, but didn't feel really it was much for me. I didn't enjoy it as much as the track day, so I kept doing the track day portion of it. But I do have a lot. I support a lot of people here.
Now, what shows are you doing? Are you doing like meets type setups? Or are you doing like actual shows? Or
well, it's cars. I would say car shows and car meets. So a good buddy of mine. I don't know if you've ever heard of Broke East Meets.
I have heard of him. I don't know.
Yeah. So Chris Strickland's the owner, and he runs it with Dan, who's his good buddy, and they probably have one of the best shows here. So I should say though, because he'll kill me for this though, his car is not his car. He doesn't have car shows. He has car meets.
Okay.
He doesn't do any awards or anything like that. He wants to make it more of a community,
like a participation
where nobody feels like one person's better than the other based on awards.
It's funny because I come from both sides. Like I love the car shows, but I love the fact that people who work hard on their vehicles should be shown. And I have seen I won't say corruption, but the unfair judging on a lot of shows there. But then I've seen the other side where like I went to a show. And they asked me to judge, and I was so excited. I was a young kid. And I'm like, oh, great. I'm like, I get to judge, like I feel like I'm somebody. So I go in there and I'm judging all these vehicles. And what's funny is the show that I judged was primary like Latin American, like Hispanic community. Mm-hmm. And we get there, and in the beginning, everybody is so passionate. Like they love their cars. It's a family thing. It's really strong, and everybody's so. Here's a soda. They knew you're a judge. But then I didn't realize till afterwards that at the end you have to pick one.
Yeah.
So all these people who loved you, they hate you. Yeah. And so then you see, and it's not even that they just hate you; they're mad at the person for winning. Right. And it does create a lot of tension. So it's a stressful event.
Yeah. So they're a big one, and I go to all his events. I'm actually a vendor there a lot of times for modified machines, which is my motorsport business for Lime Rock.
Oh, cool.
And for Builds now for this company, I'm actually I'll be there this year. They have a show actually just coming up. I think it's in April, I believe. But if you look up Broke East Meets, you'll see.
It'll come up.
But really good show. If you guys ever have a chance, he has a really good show. Several thousands of cars come out.
Oh, wow.
And
where do they host at usually?
So one of them's I know at Rentschler Field in East Hartford.
Okay.
The other one is at the track is at not Thompson. What's the other one? There's another track that
they had like Waterford.
Waterford's
okay.
Yeah.
And Thompson. Yeah. Thompson.
Yep. Waterford. Yep. So and
I actually might have. I wonder, has he been doing it for a long time?
Yeah. This is their 10th year doing it, so
I think I might have.
They used to do a lot at Thompson, and then they stopped doing it at Thompson, and then they went to the Waterford.
So maybe it was. It was funny because I talked about this one where I went to at Waterford, and I was excited because they had a drift like exhibition there, but then both cars crashed before the thing started, so it wasn't enjoyable.
It's actually here. I want to make sure I give you the right one.
Yeah, right though.
Oops. Oh. Yeah, and then the other, I have Corey from Yukon.
Yep.
Yukon Car Club. They're really
that's
good guys
a pretty big
too.
attendance too.
That's a big one too. That they're in Rentschler Field in East Hartford. And then there's a couple others. I know not Yukon. Connecticut State University.
Yep.
They do car shows too. So I know a lot of people. So I try to attend to a lot of.
Yeah, I bet when you're in it, you probably meet so many people.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing like-minded things, and then you can talk about how aggravating it is at the end of the day when you finally finish a show.
CCSU is a good one. Yeah, those three are really good. I would say probably one of the top best.
It's funny. There's a CCSU one they did in a parking garage.
They used to have it there, but now I guess for whatever reason, the school ended up banning it 3-4 years ago. Actually, I think this was during COVID, so maybe 4 or 5 years ago now. There was anytime the car shows would be over. people would leave, and everybody would gather up at the end, take videos of people leaving, and a lot of people would end up showing off by either when they do peel outs or drifts outs. And one kid, I guess, had a really nice GTR. Supposedly it might have been his dad's, I don't know. But when he pulled out a CCSU, he floored it, and I guess the way it was all-wheel drive, but this thing was like 600 or 700 horsepower. He took off, and I guess he went sideways and didn't catch it the other way, so it ended up spinning out, and it went off the side. And I don't know if it ended up hitting a pole or not. So obviously the cops were there, and all the people ran out, and
it's a big.
And so I think after that, CCSU kind of was like, we're done. Obviously for
it always the
reasons.
safety issues always what ruins everything.
Yeah, so now they do theirs. I want to say it's actually at New Britain, the B Stadium.
Yep.
So I think it's there now.
Down on the south side. It's funny because my son was going to CCSU, and when we had made a deal with him that if he went to work for us, we'd I forgot what it was. We'd triple his money in his car or whatever. And then he opted to work for my wife at the credit union. Ended up not saving up any money. So kind of as a punishment, we gave him his grandmother's car.
Oh, okay.
But then it was sketchy. So I said, we brought it to the shop. I said, bodywork, paint it, go through the suspension, chassis, everything, full interior, go through it. So it's presentable, right. It's nice. And he goes, it was funny because every time he'd go to school on the weekends, they would, if there was a show, they try to direct them into the show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that car? It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But everybody's that whole generation's into, the Toyotas and all that different type of stuff.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Yeah, and then that's kind of how this really all started, honestly, from doing years of car shows and just hanging out. And I mean, I used to even hang out. I was one of those Pike guys where I used to go to Berlin Turnpike back in the day. I used to go to Dunkin' Donuts to hang out there every Friday, Saturday
And that's
nights.
gone now, right? No one does it?
Yeah, I mean, there is. I know that one Dunkin' Donuts, which is right across from McDonald's and right next to Wendy's.
Yep.
Kind of right where like the park, I guess, starts shortly after Bolorama.
Yeah.
Actually, where the drive-thru used to be on top of the hill.
Remember
that?
Yeah.
So right there, they people still hang out.
They still
there.
do hang out.
Yeah.
One of my buddies used to live right in that road, and he used to go there because there was like all the Mopar guys, used to hang out in one spot.
Well, back in the day, I mean, I don't want to age myself, but when Fast and Furious came out in 2000, I mean, that's when that was like the pinnacle, I think, of the Berlin Turnpike, and even prior to that, because Roy Rogers, that used to be like all the muscle cars.
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts, and then the other Dunkin' Donuts at one point across from Olympia Diner, which isn't there anymore. That was a pretty big chill spot too.
Yeah.
So
it used to be so fun. Well, it's funny when you said that about the crash at the CCSU. I was thinking about what running through my head is what shut down Burger King. Was we were there one night, and you'd have a lot of the older muscle car guys and all those guys there, but then you always get that one guy kid who gets his mother's Mustang and he comes out and shows off. So right in front of it, he tries to do a burnout, and you're talking. It used to be like 100 cars, front to back, front, all the way around that corner, and he like launched it and started doing a burnout, and it hooked, and then he hit that giant speed bump in the front. And instead of turning around to the drive-thru, he went straight in and then hit a lady with her kid in a stroller.
Oh, wow.
And that's what shut that down.
Wow.
And after that, it was just gone. Until that kind of, same thing, acting like an asshole, ruined the event, which kind of sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like kids these days don't know. I mean, I know they have all these takeovers and stuff, which I personally am not, a fan of. I think it kind of ruins the car community. People get hurt and taking all, the whole intersection thing. But I did a lot of night car meets where we just hang out as just car people and just hang out and talk for hours and hours about specs. And,
I love that part of it.
And it's crazy because when I talk to my girlfriend, she's like, "How do you remember all this like engine codes and chassis codes and all?" But it's when you're passionate about something.
Yeah,
it's easy to remember.
It's funny because there's so many now. Like I feel like I used to know everything about like certain cars I was into, and then I love the fact that everybody's into these different vehicles. But when you guys start talking about like the BMWs, like we had Derek Burton was on here, and he was into BMWs too, and they start talking about all the different codes and chassis and all that stuff. I'm like, I'm trying to remember it, but we actually have Mike, I think, said he's coming on. Mike's a really huge BMW guy. He has a shop down the street, and he does drifting. I can't wait to have Mike.
Mike who?
Text Mike last
Does he do tuning or no?
No, he doesn't do tuning. Okay. I can't believe I forgot Mike's last name. He'll probably watch this and call me an asshole, but basically he does. It's called Bob House.
Okay.
And he sells a lot of parts for BMW,
Oh,
and
okay,
does repair,
cool.
does videos on YouTube and TikTok and all that stuff, and
Cool.
super talented guy, really into it. So I know he actually does something with a drift team that travels all over the place. So,
Oh, wow.
so you probably know.
I'm sure I probably heard of him, because I have a big involvement in the BMW community.
I think Ken Kaplan Cycles. His son.
This sounds familiar.
Does drifting, and he does BMW. I think that's the guy.
Okay.
Not to cut you off.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm a huge BMW guy, actually. So I actually hosted not last year, the year before, M-Fest at Lime Rock too, which is a all BMW.
I think I saw something
show.
online about that too.
Yeah,
that's
so
really
that was a
cool.
really good turnout. So looking to last year we were going to do it, but we didn't end up doing it. So we postponed it till this year. So we'll probably end up doing something with that this year too.
Oh, nice.
But back to this Builds thing, that this kind of came up where we used to just being at car shows all the time, or car meets, either one. And especially being a vendor, I'd always have people come up and ask about my vehicles, and I'd always have to sit there, and it was kind of
it gets redundant.
It gets redundant. It's like I just wish I could just play a tape.
Yeah. So that's what made you.
Then for years I was like, God, I wish there was somewhere people could come up and just like learn about your vehicle. And you see back in the day, a lot of people, especially with muscle cars, they used to have the little
the plaques,
the little plaques and stuff that you could come up and. So I was like, I wish there was something, and then that's when I kind of started thinking like, I wish there was like a sticker maybe. And then slowly,
that's actually so good, because I actually would never put a plaque in front of a car because you feel like you're 90.
Yeah,
there's
still some people that do it, which is cool.
Yeah.
But so the thing with these was like, I wish there was a sticker that you could just put in the car somewhere, and it's subtle where it doesn't stick out too much, but people would scan it and literally learn an entire, learn the entire thing of your vehicle, everything to it. And I've always done websites, and I do my own graphics and stuff.
Oh, okay. Is that what you do for work, or you just enjoy it too?
I just do it on the side. I used
fun.
to be a graphic designer, so
nice.
I do a lot of my graphics, my websites, and so I was like, what? Maybe I started looking into QR codes, and then I was like, maybe I could make a website where it'd be like essentially like a Facebook. /Instagram /media page, but it would be custom, where the person that is on there, it'd have their page, their face, a picture of them, their vehicle, a gallery of their vehicle, so you can literally go through all the pictures of their vehicle, exterior, interior, whatever. Have some basic information like the vehicle's year, make, model, horsepower, and then when you go down, it actually put a portion of the website. When you go in there, it says sponsors. And under there, you could even have either actual sponsors, or if you just want to put companies that you like to support.
Shout out people you like.
To shout out, and then they could click on that as well. Or the bigger thing, I had some speed shops reach out to me, speed shops that do custom work, such as yourself, with, interior work, or any kind of modifications like that. So it could literally bring business to
I think I think you're on. It's funny because when I first communicated with you, I look, and I'm like, what the heck does he fix QR codes on cars?
And it's funny, not to cut you off, but I don't think people realize it until they scan it and see it, and they're like, oh my God, this is such a good idea.
Yeah.
They're like nobody's done this. And I'm like,
well, it's funny because how there's countless times I look at a vehicle at a show, and it's something, when you're building something, stance is everything. Yeah. And your tire fitment, all that is everything.
Yeah.
And if you could so easily screw it up, and it's so expensive. Like some of the like the Forge Line wheels we're doing, you're talking $8,000 for rims.
Yeah.
So you don't want to mess them up. And so you're trying to research, you're trying to find it, or you're at a show waiting to talk to someone, but you're like you said, there's usually a line of people asking the question, and then you're going to sit there just to ask the same question.
Yep.
So now you just walk up, scan it, boom, I love it.
And the cool thing with this is, I retain a lot of my information of my vehicles. When you modify your own vehicle, you remember most of the mods you did, but there's specific, I don't remember the offset. I do now because I put it in, but I don't remember the offset. A lot of people don't remember the exact offset of their vehicles, the front and the back, the spacing, all that stuff. And so with this, it's really cool because I have it. So what I want to do is have the first portion of it be pictures. Then the second portion is if there's any sponsorships. And then the third section of the page is basically the modifications. And then I have that broken down into, I think, 10 or 12 categories. And it's basically, I have it pretty detailed. I have engine, then I have forced induction. So if you're turbo, then, stuff like injectors, ECU, suspension, brakes, tires, exterior, interior.
So it's pretty detailed.
So it's pretty detailed. So you could literally put in each category, fill it out. I already have probably 30 or 40 cars on there right now since I started this last year. that you could look through all the clients' cars, and some of them. One guy, Jose, he was actually at my booth last year. He'll be there this year. He's got a pretty cool neon SRT.
Yep.
You don't see a lot of those now anymore.
No, yeah.
And his has a ton of modifications. So you look on his page and you'll see all the modifications, all the engine work, internal work, pistons. Because the motor's built too on
nice,
that.
Yeah.
The one other cool thing that I really wanted to be able to do, and you could do, so somebody like Brittany, I don't know if you ever heard of her. It's funny because you did a podcast with Rachel.
Yep.
So Brittany is actually another Subi girl. She's like really big. She has an older, the bug eye WRXs.
Okay.
And so she goes to a lot of car shows, and she wins a ton of trophies. So shout out to you, Brittany, if you see this. But if you go on her page is really cool because I actually have a video on there because she did a kind of like a podcast interview with somebody on YouTube about her vehicle. It's basically like an entire segment of her vehicle. She talks about her build and everything. So another cool thing that you could actually put on here is like dyno graphs. I know that's a big thing that a lot of I would say like hard, us nerdy car guys, when we really get into like the specifications, weights, the weight of a vehicle, stuff like that. So the information on this is really endless. I mean, as far as how much you can share.
And you said you're going to try to make it into more of a community-based thing, too, in the future.
Yeah, I mean, the bigger thing, I know I've had a couple speed shops reach out to me because they're really interested in, because obviously it'll bring them, whatever they put out, it'll bring them back, more clientele. I mean, how many times have you seen people be like, who did your work, or who did this, or who did that?
Yeah, especially now because there's not
all
as
the
many
time.
shops
So this is
there.
really beneficial in regards to networking with people and businesses and just people in general. So
yeah, there's so many possibilities. I think this is a great idea.
Yeah.
I think it really nailed something.
Yeah. So I know I already have a couple speed shops really interested in making specific ones for them. So it's a Builds, and it have their speed shop name underneath it. So when people scan on it, you go to their page, and they could actually have some of these speed shops have 10, 15 cars they worked on.
Yeah.
They'll have all their cars on there, and you can literally click into each car and view each
That's
build.
actually really cool. I think I'm going to hit you up with those because that's
absolutely.
really cool. Yeah. Because you think about that, that's one of the things that drives me crazy is since I was a kid, my biggest thing is I hate putting a lot of stickers all over cars.
Yeah.
Especially show cars. I mean, if it's a race car, you're out for sponsorship. But if you're going to shows, like I hate like shit all over it. And then I'm like, even putting our name on a big thing, but like this is cool because like it's small.
Yeah.
And
if you look at them, I did different colors, and so I did that actually so it's customizable as well. So depending on what color your vehicle is, you could have either black where it's just subtle. If you want to do red. So you have different colors that you could take. So that way, if you want to match it with your car, I know some people like matching it.
Yeah, if it was to keep everything clean.
Another one that's cool is so these are reverse sticker. You could put them inside underneath the window, or you could actually put them on the outside. I had a couple people actually put them in their engine bay too. So you open up the engine bay, the sticker's right there, and they could just scan it. And so it works out really good because, like I said,
really good. Yeah.
People could scan it, literally learn your entire build within
a few
minutes.
How long have you started this, or have you been doing this?
Since last year, I kind of started putting everything together. Over the winter, I just got my booth set up. I got an official Builds booth, a 10x10 booth. I got a nice table cover, and actually a nice one of those banners that you pull out.
Yep.
And I have a vehicle on there. I have a couple of vehicles I already did that are really nice. And I have this QR codes on there so people actually scan it. And actually, I have one right here. It's actually this is the one that's my buddy Jose, so you can kind of see it.
Oh yeah, that's real cool.
Yeah, and I have business cards in there. So that one, and then the other one. And you guys can, if you guys check this on the website, you'll be able to see their build. Here's the other one. These guys, Glenn from Custom Tracks, they do really awesome work too. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
Yeah, just Glenn from Swag, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I know Mike up there, and I've heard really great things about him.
So that's actually that guy. That car is the owner of, I don't know if you heard of ProSign off 84.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Peter.
That's really cool.
Is the owner of this vehicle. But basically, you essentially scan it. And then basically, it'll bring you to the build. And like for this one, I believe Scott's Hot Rods is the frame that's on.
Yeah,
here.
Scott does really nice
Scott.
work.
So like if you go onto his website or onto this car, you'll see all the sponsors underneath it. You'll see Custom Swag, Scott, Hot Rods. I believe I forget who did the interior for this, but I have that in there as well, so you can actually click on there. So it's all about networking.
Yeah, yeah. I think
sharing everything.
I think it's really awesome.
So, like I said, it's essentially like a Facebook for your vehicle, if you will.
Yeah, that's really excellent.
You know, because some people are like, well, why don't you just do Instagram? You know, but the problem with Instagram, not that there's a problem. Instagram's awesome, but it's just pictures. It doesn't tell you anything else.
Yeah, that's what's hard is like I don't know if it's like a typecasting with Instagram, but I always when I look at it, I think Instagram should be a place where you put pictures of your vehicles.
Yeah.
And just leave it that way. And so Facebook should be a little more social.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with Instagram is it's great, but again, and the other thing is, you know, a lot of these people have Instagram handles on their vehicle. And as stupid as it sounds, some people are lazy. They don't want to put it in. So they look at it like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, you just scan it. You literally don't have to do anything. You just scan it and it just comes right up. It makes it so much easier.
It's funny because one of the guys... one of our customers had bought this Mercedes to resell, and when we got it in, it had their Instagram handle on it. And when you actually looked it up, it was them just beating the hell out of this car.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you want me to take that sticker off? Because whoever gets this car, if they see that, they're not going to want it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But the cool thing with this, like I said, is it brings everything together. So your YouTube, Instagram, Facebook is all on there. So, I mean, it's literally one place where you could check it out and see
that's cool. Yeah, at least all your
their entire
socials,
social media handle on one page versus having to go to each separate one.
That's excellent.
If they have website, you could also link up your website to it. I mean, there's no limitations in regards to this. So
yeah, it's really cool. I think you're onto something huge here. This is really cool.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm this year I'm going to push really hard and go to a lot of car events. Last year I kind of started towards the end of the year because I didn't really have a lot of my gear set up yet. And anytime you want to bring something out, you want to look professional and official with it. I mean, I see not knocking on anybody. I'm all for entrepreneurs and this country's founded on trying and making it and it's great. But sometimes you see people that have they try to sell stuff, but they don't really market it correctly or it doesn't look official, and so people are kind of not
your first impression on a lot of stuff is really difficult. Yeah. If you're going to spend $100,000 with someone and they terrify you, then it's not going to work.
Yeah. First impressions are a lot. So looking professional as a company, I think, is really important.
I'm so excited about that because literally it was funny because when I first saw it, I thought what the heck is this? And I'm like, man, it has so many tremendous benefits now.
Yeah, and I think that, like I said, that's kind of the same reaction a lot of people have when they come up and they first don't really realize it. They're like, okay, and then I'll show it to them. And then once they actually go to my car, scan and see it on their phone, and then they're like, "Oh my God!" They're like, "This is actually amazing." They're like, "I can't. This is so cool."
Yeah. And you don't have to carry around a plaque everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Fill up your trunk with crap.
Yep. And then the other thing, I'll probably show them I was talking about was this.
Oh yeah, those are awesome.
The shirts, and so this was kind of one thing I was like, man, I wish you could walk around and possibly. Have people just scan it and then see your vehicle too. Yeah. And so this you could scan from pretty far away too, and it'll bring up your entire build, which is really cool. Another cool thing, even speed shops.
You're doing them individually for builds, not just to go to your site.
Yeah. So each QR code is individual. It's for every single person, and so that's the tedious part of this whole thing. And I'm starting to kind of see maybe this is why nobody's done it yet. It is a lot of work. But it's really cool because every single QR code is individual to that one person. And so that's what makes it unique is you have your very own webpage. Yeah. Nobody else does that.
I guess technically, are you doing a heat transfer, doing it yourself, or are you sending them out?
Yeah, well, this one I did myself as a heat transfer. Yep. They're pretty durable. And
because I'm almost saying that'd be fun because your shirts are your shirts, so you could print a million of them up.
Yep.
And then you just heat transfers for individual one isn't that bad.
No.
So it's like you could do it individually.
No. I mean, I kind of came out with the system where I pre-print 40 or 50 at once because they're all individual, so it's just easier for me to make 50 at once and then just print them all out. And then afterwards, I mean, right now they're not hooked into anything, but whenever I set somebody up with them, I could just link the page to that QR code.
Oh, nice.
So currently a lot of these QR codes...
Oh, that's actually really good. So you're not generating it after the fact, you're pre-generating it and then just... that's really
Exactly.
smart. Yeah.
And the cool thing with these QR codes is I can link them to anything. I mean, I can link them to websites, I can link them to videos, I can link them to literally whatever you want.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, you thought this out a lot.
Yeah, so I pre-make a lot of these, and then if I go to a show or if somebody's interested in it, I just give them a sticker, I'll scan it, and then at that point, once I make them a web page, I'll just link the two together so whenever they get skinned, it'll go directly to their
So you're
page.
You're so committed because you figure like if you're working a full-time job and then you're going, this is just your passion too.
Yeah.
And going to car shows every week, and you must have a great girlfriend.
Yeah. I mean, I'm busy, so I have 2 kids, and I love my kids, so they're great too. So I mean, I manage my time pretty well.
Yeah. It's tough.
So
car shows are hard. I got burnt out in car shows because you hear me say it a million times, but like for us to do an event, it's set everything up so that on Friday you're either at the show setting up or everything's ready, and then Saturday and Sunday you're usually there late nights, and then not late on car shows, but motorcycle shows are really late, and then Mondays you're usually tearing everything apart. So it's a lot of.
It is a lot of work. I don't think a lot of people that appreciate or realize it that don't do it. I mean, I've had a lot of times when I go, especially to a lot of these car events here, like Chris's and the other ones. I mean, a lot vendors usually have to be there like an hour and a half, 2 hours before it even starts. So I'll be there sometimes like at 7 in the morning. It doesn't start till 9. Yeah. But to get a good spot, a lot of times you have to be there because sometimes it's first come first serve. Sometimes they have them kind of laid out, but even then, if you're there sooner, you might get a little bit of better spot than if you come late.
So you guys, a lot of the shows and events you guys are doing are just one day stuff now. It's not like because when we used to do shows, it was like Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday, and then you go home.
No, I mean, typically a lot of the ones here, at least in Connecticut, I mean, I would even say, all the ones in Boston, New York, New Jersey, I've been to, they're usually all one day.
Oh, okay. So
I know there's a couple, like, I don't know if you know Adam LZ.
I've heard of
him. So he started finally doing it's called the LZ World Tour. He's actually coming. He was here last year. Actually, Rachel and them with Ignition Speed Festival, they were there. I know they're going back there this year too. But he has, I think his event's like a 3-day event.
And where do they do that?
It's out in which drag strips in New Jersey? It's not Lebanon, is it? Or did that one close? I forget. One of them closed. So I can't remember which one he's doing it at. But it's in New Jersey at one of the tracks. Yep. I believe they have drifting there because obviously he's a big drifter. So it's not Connecticut. He's just up in the Northeast. Yeah. Okay. But I know. Well, the bigger event that came out here finally is Grid Life. I don't know if you heard of them, but they're really big. And they finally started doing their last event was not last year, the year before. And so this kind of brings me back to our earlier conversation in the beginning when you asked if there's drifting at Lime Rock. There used to be Lock City used to be there. They got kicked out because the community in Lime Rock is very strict with noise policies. And you just complain about a lot of things. And so they ended up kind of not having him come back, and that's at that point when Lock City got Thompson, and they've been great doing it there. I would say in the last probably 10, 15 years, this is the first time drifting is back at Lime Rock, and it's actually through Grid Life. So they allowed them to do it, and a lot of people were up in arms about it, but Lime Rock was like,
That's always, I mean, since I was a kid, that's been a battle, because like when we were kids, we'd go to Colchester Dragway, and then it was funny because when that track, they closed it down, and then there was one of the brothers that was involved when it was like collecting money to restart it up. But then it was weird because basically they said they would never start it up because they built condominiums right on the edge of it. Yep. And then Road and Track bought the whole thing for a test facility and all that stuff. Oh, yeah. But it was the same thing. It was just the noise and stuff like that. And you get it as far as like if it's by your house at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're hearing cars going. Right. But then again, you bought a house.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's kind of at Lime Rock too. You bought into this thing that's at a track, so you kind of have to be somewhat lenient with it. I wish, going back to the drag, I wish we would have a drag strip here in Connecticut. I mean, God, yeah. That's one thing I wish we could get back. That we're really missing.
Any of that stuff. Somebody had told me, which I don't know. I guess it's not true, but they said that Lime Rock or Thompson was doing a small drag strip inside their track. Or something like that, but that was a couple of years ago, and I never heard anything about it.
Yeah. No, I think we're missing that. I wish we did have a drag strip at some point.
This whole state you need drag strips, you need like a football team, a baseball team, you need something for people love.
Yeah, I mean, originally when we were going to get the Patriots, that was all awesome, and that never pulled through, which I think a lot of people were excited about.
And they let the Whalers go.
Then Whalers left too, So I mean, I think we're slowly starting to build back up, but we're missing a lot of the big things that if we would have gotten the Patriots, that would have been huge.
Oh my God, that would have been.
I think that would have really helped Hartford out because Hartford's kind of in shambles at this point.
I don't know why they don't do stuff like that. I mean, it adds so much value to the state to do stuff like that, and, things to do, and it's crazy. Someone was talking about, which I understand, they're talking about building a track down in Bridgeport, which I don't know how the heck you would do that because there's a lot of people in Bridgeport. Yep. And that's crazy. It's insane. Yeah. Just knock it down and start over again. I don't think many people would care. It's not exactly the best place.
So so that's kind of where I'm going with this. So this year, I going back to what you said about having a lot of events and being vendors. It is a lot of work. So, but luckily, most of the ones here are just for the day. So usually by 3-4 o'clock we're kind of done.
Yeah,
and pack up and leave. But
let's enjoy a little more enjoy. It's still it's funny because everybody looks at you as you should be there having fun, but it's tiring. You're talking
it's work, and as much as I say I love this stuff, but it does, like, even my track days. I've been doing it for this is my 6th year now. And in the beginning, I was like, oh my God, it's so much fun. If I could do that and just do that and nothing else, it'd never feel like work. It does still feel like work. When you're there for 8 hours standing out in the sun, especially in the track, and it's stressful because you want to make sure nobody gets hurt, on top of making sure everything runs smoothly. It's stressful, and so after doing it,
you want to make sure everybody pulls their own weight, because if one person doesn't, that's helping.
Yeah. So after doing it for years, there are times where even I'm like, oh man, like I have a track day I got to host this weekend.
Yeah.
So I still have fun when I'm there, and when I'm in the moment, I'm like I'm glad I'm doing it, but it still feels like work.
Yeah. You know what's funny is every time you do like some sort of event, you're in a great place, you set everything up, the excitement about doing it. Then right before you do it, there's always like, oh, I should be doing this. I could be doing this with my family. This probably would have been funner to do. Yeah. But then you have to do it. But when you do it, you're glad you did it.
Yeah, and then you got to clean up, and it is a lot of work to a lot involved that I don't think people really think or realize.
Yeah, we used to do like the car shows, and everybody, because you would be amazed, like every single, like once a week, someone says, "Why don't you do a car show?" And you're like, "We've done car shows," and you're like, between getting the ambulance there, and people don't realize how much money it costs.
Well, I was gonna not to cut you off, but I was gonna say, I've had people before in the past where they complain to, when I've had a couple car shows myself and other ones, and people make all these complaints, but I'm like, I don't think you realize like how much money goes into. I mean, you have to have thousands of dollars. You have to get an ambulance, like you said. Police are expensive.
They're huge.
I don't think people realize. Usually, I think for mine, like for Lime Rock, I paid. Just for when I had my car show 2 years ago for M-Fest, I think I paid almost $3,500 just for the state police.
Yeah, that was probably one or two guys, right?
Huh?
That was probably only one or two guys, right?
That was one guy.
And
it was, but I had to pay I think it was every 4 hours.
Yes, yeah.
And so I had to have him in the morning, so it ended up being a full shift, even though he was only there for 6 hours. I had to pay him for 8 hours.
Yeah, and feed him.
And on top of it, and on top of it, he actually was, so they try to either get a regular trooper, but if they're not around, then they're going to get, like, I think a sergeant or something, so that's, like, another, like, extra, like, $800 on top of it.
It's funny when you said that, because I used to think they did it deliberately, because you don't know the difference.
Yeah, so I'm hoping, I'm like, so at then, I don't know how much I really am going to owe until the end of the show, so I'm like, fuck, I hope they just get a regular trooper, so I don't have to pay extra for it, but I ended up paying like I think $3,800 just for one trooper.
So and crazy.
He was the one I was sitting outside, so that way when people left, because the other thing that people don't realize is when you host your own event, whatever happens falls on you.
Yes.
And so if people leave, they crash down the road or whatever. I mean it makes you look bad, and so even at Lime Rock, I might not be the one to do it, but they might be like, don't come back next year because the people that you brought in caused all these issues. We just don't want to deal with you anymore.
Yeah, that's so common. And most of the things that get turned down are like that. It's like crazy.
Yeah. So car shows, I would say car shows are really, really stressful in that regards. And I get it because I've done it before. So I know what, people like Chris and Corey and a lot of these guys that have the bigger events, what they go through. I mean, they're literally on point all day, just running around, making sure everything's running smoothly. There's no issues because they obviously, they're there to obviously for business themselves. And
it kind of, what's funny about running the show and hosting the show and doing all that is you don't ever enjoy the show.
Yeah,
you don't really look around at the vehicles and talk to people because there's always something. You're always pulled in, and there's always a problem. Something's not working, a microphone's not working, a trophy guy forgot to show up.
There's very seldom times where you actually get to actually enjoy it yourself. Yeah. And then at the end, you kind of got to clean up and go home, and you're like, and then maybe at that point you might enjoy the pictures afterwards or the videos.
Yeah.
To kind of rewind and see
what
the show was like. But
I used to find that by the next year, or maybe like 6-7 months, you start to forget about how difficult it was, and then you want to do it again, and then you do it again, and you're like going, oh shoot, it's not any different. And
until you're actually there, you're like, fuck, like now I remember. I remember from last year the pains of this, but. I mean, at the end of the day, I think people that are passionate continue to do it because it's worth it. So same for me, like my track days are stressful and a lot of responsibilities, but at the end of the day, I I still get enjoyment out of seeing. I get a lot of new people that come that have never done track days because I make it affordable. So what makes it worth it is seeing people come up to me and be like, hey, thanks so much for hosting this. I learned so much from the beginning of the track day to the end. So
it's
stuff like that makes it worth
it. Like somebody has to do it. So if you're strong enough to have the ability to do it, you need to do it to help the community.
Yeah,
because that's what keeps it growing.
And that's the thing. I always want to like build up the car community because obviously I'm a car person myself. Down through when it comes back to my origins, it's I'm just a car guy. Just
did you grow up around cars, or you guys went at an older age?
I was just always into cars. Like even when I was a kid, my mom said I used to always have little Matchbox cars. I'd sit there for hours like and just play with.
Now you got a big Matchbox car.
Yeah, so and I remember when I got my first car, my dad was so against me working on it and stuff, but my very first mods were honestly just cheesy mods. Like I painted the engine and stuff just to make it look nice, and then slowly I got into like actual like performance mods, and so I've always been a car guy. It was just something I naturally just liked. And
it's just in your
seemed appealing to me.
Yeah. Oh, that's excellent.
So,
now, what do you do for work? So nothing related to cars or anything?
No, I do IT.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep.
Big company, small company?
Bigger. They're out of Farmington.
Okay.
Yeah, we do air movement with fans.
Okay.
So, but it kind of I was always a car guy, and then I kind of picked up graphic design earlier on, and I've always been into that. I do a lot of gaming.
Nice.
So I started building my own PC, my game sets, and that's kind of how I got into the computer portion of it.
It's so funny because I've always like yelled at my kids for gaming and hated it. And then I've been watching all this research, and one of the things that they say is that surgeons who play video games are it's like 30% better at their job than other surgeons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do believe gaming is, and my mom, I think, not that she really ever had an issue with it, but I don't think they ever saw the appeal in it either. But I've always liked gaming. When I used to play Gran Turismo, that was one of the big ones when I was younger. Just because it was a racing game, and even now I actually have a racing simulator, and I play Assetto Corsa, which is like a pretty popular one. And these racing simulators are super, super realistic. I mean, the wheel I have it's a 900-degree wheel, so it turns just as much as a car. I have all the pedals are gas, brake, clutch. I have an actual 6-gear box.
Does it have like tension? You could feel it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's force feedback in it. I mean, you can learn. So I taught my older girl, she's 14. Actually, she just turned 14 last year. I'm sorry, this year in December. And I took her out to a parking lot, and I was like, I'm going to teach you how to drive stick on my M3. So I did. And we were in an enclosed parking lot. She drove around. She picked it up pretty quick, but prior to that, for the last couple of years, she'd always jump on this racing simulator. And she learned how to, the Nürburgring is a really big track that a lot of people go out to in Germany. It's one of my favorite tracks that I race on a lot. But I had her race on a lot of tracks, and she did actually learn the basic, fundamentals of driving. She got to feel what it feels like when the car kicks out and you get the force feedback when it counter steers.
Well, someone was saying because they'll do an exact replica of a track that you could actually learn the track.
Yeah.
So when you go there, and I know that
it's funny because I downloaded Thompson Speedway's track, and I was drifting in the game like I used to in real life, and it's
very similar.
It's pretty on point. I mean, it's close enough where if you get really good on the simulator and you go in the real thing,
so you could actually download local tracks.
Assetto Corsa, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they have. Well, I know they have Lime Rock on Assetto Corsa. I guess
Lime Rock is pretty much a major
Lime Rock, but they did have Thompson Speedway. It wasn't because a lot of these tracks that are made that are some of these smaller ones, developers make them.
Yeah.
So some are really good quality, some aren't, depending on who makes them. So the Thompson was okay.
And it's their new track because they just redid it 4 years ago, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it's the new track. I think it might be the new track. I think it's pretty recent. So, but I mean, the game is, Assetto Corsa is one of the ones that it's really amazing games. Physics-wise, I mean, you get to feel everything, and then on top of it, she learned how to drive stick really well on it with the clutch and everything, downshifting.
That's pretty cool, because I know that a lot of race car drivers, drag racers, will use the simulation to get off the line, and it really helps their launch time.
I think what a lot of people are using now, I'm going to mention my buddy Dimitri, he had a lot of his sons, and even he uses it for drifting. And for drifting, it actually does work really well because you get to learn. It's a 900-degree wheel with force feedback, and so you actually get to learn where the car actually, when you kick it out a certain amount, you get to learn how to keep the car sideways by just making little movements in the vehicle. So it translates to, I mean, I would say it's pretty damn close to.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And that's
realistic.
the simulators that are only like $1,500.
It depends. Like my simulator, I mean, I got Logitech the G920 wheel, which is like, I think it's like $300 for the wheel, or $350 maybe. I mean, the whole setup between that and my steering wheel or my seat, I would say it was probably like $800, $900.
Yeah,
so not too bad for entry level.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go to like there's companies called Fanatic. They're a much higher steering wheel company. So I think their base one starts out at $1,200 just for the wheel.
Yeah, because I couldn't see some like famous drag racer or circle track guy going and buying a simulator that's like $300 at like Best Buy.
Yeah, no, I mean they'd probably get the nicer one. I mean you can definitely, you can get setups that are like $30,000-$40,000 easily, where they actually move and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean you can go pretty crazy with it, but if you don't want to go too, like mine was like just under $1,000, and honestly for
and the
what I use it for,
amazing.
Yeah,
that's
and you
really cool.
really can learn a lot of the tracks. You could learn car physics on it. You can learn how to drift on it really well. I mean, if you learn on that, I bet you within a day you could go out and drift a real car and
that would be the
apply
best video.
The physics.
Take someone, put them in the simulator, give them 3 days in the simulator, and then throw them in a car.
I forget that movie. I never seen the one with the Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
That video of the kid that ended up winning the Gran Turismo competition.
Yeah.
And then he ended up becoming an actual race car driver.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it happens a lot, but it just goes to show that
anything's possible. Yeah.
I mean, even think of airplanes. When pilots learn, they learn on simulators, right?
Too.
So I mean, simulators definitely.
Come on, simulator people, make these things perfect.
Yeah,
we're not a fan of airplanes.
Yeah, I mean the bigger thing for me, like for Assetto Corsa, is I know what it really feels like to drift in real life. And so in the game, I try to make it as close to that as I can. A lot of it is setting up the wheel, setting up a lot of the... I mean, there's so many options. And the wheels, the force feedback, all this stuff. So there's bigger challenge is getting everything dialed in and set up so it feels realistic. And that's the hard part of the whole thing.
Well, that's pretty good. That's really cool.
But once you get everything set up, I mean, I downloaded a map in Japan, which is like a really famous highway. It's just like a highway. And you could go into a server where you have like 30, 40, 50 people on, and you're all racing with these people on a highway. And it's pretty cool. I got to say, it's a pretty awesome thing. And you have buttons to turn on your lights, flash people, signal. So it's pretty crazy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because with the video game side aspect of it and doing that, one of the things that registered in my head was my son's like, I don't like to watch TV.
Yeah.
And you think about it, it's the same. It's an outlet to create.
Yeah, but you actually get to use your mind.
Yeah, and you use your hand-eye coordination.
I do feel like there are benefits, I believe, in video games. Not that you should do it all day, and there's an extreme to everything too. Some people will sit there all day and just play it.
I think that's a huge thing. So like, I always correlate like people smoke weed and people play video games. So you got people who smoke weed who are fine. They take a hit. They do their life. They're whatever.
Yep.
And then you get people who their life gets ruined over it.
Yeah.
You get people who go play video games and like run their lives and enjoy it and have fun. And then you get people who quit their jobs and they're 24/7 sitting in their room. Like,
and you got the ones that smoke weed all day and play video games. It's like a double whammy.
Yeah, you're like, where do you think you're gonna go from this?
Yeah. I mean, now I play. The only other game I played for a while was Call of Duty, which was fun. That's actually a lot of fun too, and not that I play all the time, but I'll play here and there like every once in a while. It's just kind of like a fun outlet to just kind of be a kid and just like do something else and enjoy playing some games. So
well, it's funny because when my kids were little, I don't like video games, but I used to play with them, just to have time with them because they enjoy doing it. So now a lot of times they'll get together and want to play. And I think it was Christmas. I said something. I saw this one video game that I thought would be kind of cool, and then I got my kids, even though they're adults now, excited, and they're like, okay, so they come over to the house, they're like, let's play video games. And so my daughter gets it all set, or my son, whatever, got it set up. I'm like, I can't figure out how to use the hand controller. I felt like an idiot. I'm like, there's so much stuff going on. Yeah, it's crazy.
The next game I'm actually really excited about that I used to play a lot, and I'm sure a lot of other people out watching, is Grand Theft Auto, which is huge. It's a huge game. And so the new one's finally coming out this year, I think in August or so. But people have been waiting for the last 15 years since the last one came out. And the last one even is so good, honestly, if you play it now, you're kind of like, wow, this is still a really good game. But the detail in that game is just so crazy. I mean, it's like Well, this one coming out is going to be all of Florida, but literally like the entire state of Florida.
Oh wow!
So it's that big. I mean, the one before was.
And you can go anywhere you want.
You can literally go anywhere you want. Even if you play the one before, which is 5, that's Los Angeles, and I mean it's really realistic. There's highways everywhere. I mean, it could take you just to go from one side of the map to the other, like an easy 20-25 minutes just driving up the highway. So it's pretty insane.
That's pretty neat.
And with the missions and stuff, I mean, it's just a fun game to play. So a lot of people are really looking forward to. They're finally. It's been years and years where you're like, when's the next Grand Theft Auto? But they put so much time into these games. I mean, there's so many missions and like the cars and everything. I mean, it's just crazy the way.
I look at the creation of the video games, and you look at the amount of people that it takes to do those things and like orchestrate it. It's huge.
Yeah. Well, this new one, like I said, coming out, it's gonna be literally it's all of Florida, like the entire state of Florida.
That's crazy.
So people are pretty. I mean, that's been taking.
I'm driving right to Hillbilly, Florida. If I try
it. Yeah. I mean, you could drive down to like Miami and then you could drive down to the Keys too now. In the game, you'll be able to drive down to the Keys. I believe you could drive down to the Keys and stuff
that's
too.
Funny.
So
I'll have to try one of those things out.
But now I have to, I have an old Xbox, so now I'm going to have to get a new Xbox to play the game. So
that's how we get you to get the new equipment.
Yep. So, but yeah, I think games are pretty cool.
That's funny.
But yeah, that ties all into the drifting portion and the simulation. I think is a big portion.
So you spend more time with drifting now than you do with like regular road racing and stuff?
No, I actually do. I did drifting for like 2 years with Lock City and I think I'm a pretty good drifter. I was able to get into the A group, within a year. But prior to that, I already had drifting experience, so it's not like I just started out with Lock City. But whenever you start out with them, they'll have you start in the C group, D or C group. In the beginner.
So they kind of coach you through it? Or?
Well, they have different groups. So if you're a beginner, I know there's an A group, which is the highest group. And then in there, they let you tandem. And they let you basically go on a more advanced track. It's a much faster track. And then there's B group, which I believe you get partially on the advanced track. But they also have, in the back, they have it's just a big skid pad with cones around. And then the C group is just on the skid pad because there's really nothing to hit. It's just a big.
So someone monitors you when you're good enough to get you to the next thing.
So they have people everywhere always constantly monitoring because they want to make sure at all times you're safe.
So they got to be pretty devoted then because that's the name that comes up a lot up here.
Lock City. Yeah. I mean, they're the only ones. Michael, he's the owner, and you could tell he's a drifter obviously himself.
Yeah,
and
he loves it.
He's passionate, but he runs a good business for sure.
No, nice.
So I've never heard. I mean, people crash in there and they know they're going to crash, but it's nothing purposeful, and I don't think anybody's ever really actually.
Yeah, well, that's the hardest part with life is like accidents are accidents, and they happen, and especially when you're pushing.
Well, yeah, and my fearful, like even at my track days, my biggest fear is God forbid, like somebody dies, or like gets really injured, outside of lawsuits.
Yeah,
you just don't want to have that on your conscience that somebody ended up like dying at my event or getting really hurt. I mean, that's the worst thing.
I know that happened at the that gave a bad stigma to the motorcycle track, indoor track they had a few years back up in Windsor, or quite a few years back. Someone like launched and then he came down in the sand. There's like a hard clay.
Oh.
I mean, you just hit normally you're going to hit like slightly cushioned, not really cushioned, but something. And the clay is like hitting clay.
Yeah, so there's always that fear factor of that, and drifting I think is more so even scarier because of the fact that you have to initiate and have the car go sideways out of control.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot more times of people sliding out, bumping into other cars, or just going off track. So it's definitely kudos out to Mike for running and keeping it.
Yeah, they got a good system.
Safe for so many years. And same with me. This is my 6th year with and I've never had any incidents as far as we've never had any crashes on the track. So I make sure everybody has enough space. We've had plenty of cars that break down. We've had fires. But that's on the driver's.
We have fires at regular car shows because just shit happens.
Yeah, I mean we have we do car inspections, but there's sometimes you get a couple of these guys that like completely everything is custom and they don't do the best work. So like we've had one truck that the guy he literally had his fuel lines in the back. I don't know why they were set up this way, but he had like a truck that he had a motor in the back or something. I believe it was a pickup. and all his fuel lines, one of them was leaking, and it leaked right onto the headers. And so, of course, the whole thing caught on fire. Nothing really happened. I mean, we had, what is it called? Excuse me.
Fire extinguisher. Yeah.
Fire extinguisher. So we ran out and put it out, and then, we usually have access to tow trucks, so they can just tow right off of there.
Nice.
So we had 2 fires, and then we had a couple cars blow their motors. We had one guy in a Jaguar years ago, like a newer Jaguar.
Drifting with a Jag?
No, it was a track day. But every time you went by us, I mean, this guy would, be slamming on the rev limiter. You could hear it, and I'm like, that can't be good. And eventually ended up blowing the motor on it. Because I think later that day, he finally just stopped in the middle, and then we look under. He's like, I don't know what died, and I looked underneath, and I see all the oil. I'm like, I'm like, I think you're done.
Your connector on it went through the block, buddy.
So we had a couple of those, and a couple of oil leaks too, where ended up leaking. So we had to stop the entire track and just get the sand and put the sand down, sweep it off, and then we'd race again.
Nice.
So it's stuff like that, but nothing ever
catastrophic.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So definitely stressful, but at the end of the day, if you're responsible and careful, and sometimes you have to be, I don't want to say an asshole, but you have to be to certain people. I've had to kick people out before in the past, where we don't allow drifting there only because if you go off the grass and you destroy the grass, you're actually liable for paying for it.
Yeah, people don't understand that everything's a game to them.
And and so people are like, I'm like, yeah, but it's my business, it's on me, not on you. At the end of the day, you go home, I'm the one that has to take care of, whatever happens, and then I want to be able to come back next year too.
You know what the hardest part is? It's like 99.9% of the people are perfect. It's just that 1% that do that stupid stuff that end up ruining it.
Well, last year I had one where we had a really bad storm, I guess, coming, and I ended up canceling the track day for that weekend. And I told people, I'm like, I could either refund you or I'll give you credit towards the next track day. No problem, Everybody's cool with it except for one guy. He literally went on Facebook and kind of like just put me out there. He's like, all this guy cares about is, people wanted to cancel, but Lime Rock didn't let me cancel. I'm sorry, I have it backwards. There was like some kind of storm coming where it was like raining a lot. I told him, like, listen, are you guys running the track day for this weekend? Because there's those thunderstorms. And they're like, yeah, as far as we know right now, we're running it. Because they usually, Lime Rock, the way they do is they actually run it the day of until, like, they actually have a forecast team there that'll monitor the radar.
Oh, no shit.
And so they're like, if we get thunderstorms or anything, then usually we'll either call it off if it's really bad for the entire day, or we'll pause the track for a minor amount of time until the thunderstorms pass. So we've had that in the past where we shut down for like 5-10 minutes when thunderstorms got close enough, and then once they leave, we'd open it right back up and race, and there never any issues. So this particular weekend, I guess there was supposed to be a bad storm coming. Most people, I was like, it's still on. I was like, don't worry. They assured me, like, if there's any issues, we'll cancel it the day of, and if we cancel it, then I'll refund you, or you'll get a credit back, and everybody's fine. But one guy's like, I can't believe you guys aren't canceling it. There's like, I think the one in New Hampshire, like they closed down for the weekend. And all you care about is your money. You don't care about this and that. And I'm like, so I refunded him. I was so upset, but I'm not gonna be unprofessional. Yeah. So I was like, what? I was like, I'll just refund you, not a problem. And I was like, even though I'm gonna lose the money on it, because when you pay, what people don't understand is when you rent a track, once I give the money to the track, that's it. It's done. I can't just like refund people back. If I refund people back, it comes out of my pocket. Yeah. And people don't get that.
They don't care.
And the track could be anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. Yeah. So people don't understand, like, and so this guy's, I'm like, listen, I called Lime Rock. I did all my part. They're open. I was like, I can't. There's nothing I can do, and I'm following the rules. Yeah. If it comes to that day where it's unsafe and they feel it's unsafe, they'll close it, and then we'll close it down and refund everybody. So. But the fact that you went on.
So if they closed it though, then they would refund you.
They would refund you. Okay. But if they don't close and you don't show up, you don't get refunded. Yeah. So I mean, that's just how the track days work. It's you can't
control the weather. That's they spend millions of dollars on races, and they either race in the rain or they cancel it.
Yeah, and racing in the rain is fine. I mean, I've had really successful days where it ended up raining and then it would dry up and be sunny, and people had like one of the best days. They're like, I'm so happy I got to feel what it feels like racing in the rain. Yeah. Because it's more slippery. And so you get to see the limits of racing on dry pavement versus wet pavement.
Yeah, I think, it's funny. The whole point is to test your abilities of driving.
Right, to learn.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. I mean, for mine, I do timing too, but my bigger thing is just, I charge $185, which is probably the cheapest out of any club at Lime Rock for a full day. And my big goal is just for you to come out, get as much wheel time as you can, and just have fun. I mean, we'll still have competitive time runs too. But a lot of people just enjoy getting out there just to be able to rip their car around the track and just have a good time with it. So I've had a lot of successful days where it rained and then it would dry up and people are happy with it.
Yeah, I think no matter what, you can't make people happy.
And that's how it is with car shows and anything else too.
Yeah,
and
so
I was going to bring back the whole thing with that's why some people don't want to do trophies. But I mean, I think in certain situations trophies are good too. I think it's a cool thing. I think if you judge it correctly, I think it'll be done.
Like People's Choice, or you have real people.
Exactly.
What you can't expect this guy, because he's in your car club, to go judge something that's not a professional. But if you get someone who's a professional painter to judge paint jobs, and professional performance guy to, then you could see.
We had one for my M-Fest where the judges I had were like real BMW, kind of like, I don't want to say BMW nerds, but like, they understood like the motorsport, the culture. So one of the cars they picked was a BMW X5, which is an SUV.
Yep.
It was a stock one, but what made this one special was the color combo, the year. It was like a super clean car at very low miles, but it had like a special package on it, which like I think there's only like 200 that were made or something. So they ended up picking one of these for the SUV class. And it was just because of the rarity of the vehicle.
Yep.
And this other guy got online, I remember, a week later, and he was in the same class, and his car was all modded, but it wasn't tastefully modded. It was kind of like cheesy.
Yeah, but they think theirs the best.
And they were so mad. They're like, I can't believe they picked a stock car over my car. My car had all these mods, and we're like, that's not what that class was about, though. It was about, rarity and a car that was that clean. For being
your
so
car's
old.
rare because no one wants it because you screwed it
So
up.
I didn't say anything, but I'm like, your car is a dime to a dozen. I mean, there's a bunch of other cars, that had just as much mods as yours. So in that regards, it was more about a car that had a rarity and it was really super clean.
Yeah, people are. I went to one show and the guy killed another guy.
Really?
It was like we went to Georgia, and the guy and at the major events you put a lot into it, and some people put their entire businesses up, like not, because your reputation on the line. So if you're you're selling exhaust and they're selling exhaust and you're in an exhaust competition, it's very important to have that trophy to them. And one guy beat the other guy, and then we went back to the hotel, and one of the guys went and shot him.
Wow.
You're just like, well, I take my life pretty seriously.
Yeah.
But like, there's another show, there's another event, so like you could see. But the problem is like people, you can't. I mean, some people are just nuts.
Yeah,
it's like crazy.
It's funny because when you mentioned earlier about car shows, and years ago, I was at a car show in Hartford, and it was a smaller community, but it was kind of like the community that they're really into cars, and I ended up winning. It was a lot of RX-7s and Mazdas, and I ended up winning one of the trophies. And this other guy was so upset about it because his car was similar to mine. But for whatever reason, the judges picked mine, I mean, his car was pretty clean, but I think mine had more modifications, but it was also really clean as well. So this guy was so upset, and he was like talking to his friends and everything. I actually ended up giving my trophy to him. I was like, to me, it wasn't a big deal. So I was like, whatever. So I gave it to him, and he was like thankful. But to your point, I could see like some people get really. But the thing is, like I said, is you're never going to make everybody happy. There'll always be that one person that's going to be upset. It's just part of how it is.
Yeah, it's difficult. There's people, I like, it's nice talking to you because you've been on that side of it, because most people are on the side going to the show, and they have no idea because, one, they're not going to put the commitment in, where it's not the day of the show either. Like, if you're hosting a show or you're creating a show or an event, it's a lot of preparation up to that event.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of stuff to get, like if you do it properly, you get surety bonds and insurances, all this type of stuff. There's a lot that goes involved in it. And so when they get there, they give their $10, $20 and they pull their car in and they hang out for the day and have a beer. But
there's not a lot of investment for them. They can leave at any point and nothing really matters. But like you said, they don't see the back end of how much work actually goes into.
I should try to get a couple of promoters on here so that they could really give an insight on, because I think because the whole point of our podcast is to show the different parts of our community, and I think I think the average Joe would really benefit from seeing what's involved in doing some of these major events and stuff like that, because then maybe they'd have a little more respect and patience. Because I went to one show with one of our coworkers one time, and I'm still embarrassed to this day.
Yeah.
Like, it was, I know what's involved in it, and so we get to the show, and he's driving, it's in his vehicle, and I know all the people there, and we pull up, and he's like, you gotta park over there, and he's like, I don't want to park over there. I'm like, well, can you just park over there? I don't want to. I'm like, now I'm like getting embarrassed. I'm like, oh, dude, this guy's trying to do his job. You're holding up a line. There's so much involved, and to be on that other side and see that was like, I felt so bad. And then the guy kept getting argued. Then he gets in a fight with the guy, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like,
we've had that before. I've had that before in the past too with the couple shows I did, and it seems, when you have like 10 things going on, this one guy wants to park somewhere, and but then when you have everything planned out, like your vendors and stuff where they go, then you're kind of like, I already have everything planned out. I'm sorry, I can't just put you wherever, because then now that changes the entire layout of where I had everything planned and how I had everything planned.
Yeah, and it ruins everything.
And people don't realize that. To them, they're like, oh, what's the big deal? Why can't I just move down? But
like a vendor on the corner of a specific spot could make or break them if they make the money and come back to the show. You put them in the back and you move the car. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, well, that's another hard part for the vendor portion, is when you're hosting your own event or show. Obviously every vendor wants to have a great spot. They want to be up front and center, have the spot or booth where most of the traffic's gone through. And I've had where I think a company called Clean Culture, they're pretty big. I went to one of their car shows out in New Jersey a couple of years ago, and honestly it was kind of a shit show. It was all over the place. So we ended up getting a booth like all the way in the corner, actually near my buddy Chris, and he was kind of upset too, because they got the shitty corner where like nobody went to. But at the end of the day, sometimes that's just what you have to. I'm a professional, so I'm not going to argue with the person, because I know how it is being on the other end of it.
It's tough.
So sometimes you just got to make with what you get. Where you get
to be the food vendors that you stick by the bathroom.
Yeah, but you can make, like, being a vendor too. I've had a lot of fun where, like, at my booths, I actually have a spinning wheel.
Yep.
And so I even give out swag where you come up to my booth, I have an A-frame, scan it. If you follow my Instagram, you get a free spin, and you could actually win like a lanyard or something silly.
We got our big
yeah. And so I get a lot of followers out of it. People would have fun. And on my spin wheel, I have silly things like do 10 push-ups, do 8 push-ups, water gun fight.
Oh, nice.
Cartwheel. And so like it would get like the kids involved, or it's funny because you see a lot of these kids come up with their girlfriends and they can't even do like 10 push-ups, so then their friends start making fun of them. So so we would have, like, I remember at one of Chris's show, I was with my buddy Garrett, who's he's one of the managers for Lickomolly, district manager, and we had probably the best booth out of anybody there, just because of our interaction with the customers. So we'd have a line of people, even though we didn't have the best spot, and like we weren't up front center, we were like but we ended up having a great time.
It's so funny. That's one of my pet peeves, is when vendors go to a show and they don't get out there and do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was in Carlisle at one show, and it was funny because the guys next to us were selling like chamois and stuff like that. Okay. And the guy just sat in his chair, and he's like sitting like this, and everybody's walking by, and we're like talking to people, grabbing people, you're trying to be social and stuff. And I told the guy, I go, you really suck at this. I go, I bet you $100 I could sell more chamois in 1 hour than you sold this whole weekend. It was like at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I was, the night before, me and my, one of the guys that was with me, we drank probably too much, and I'm sure I had some residual booze in me, but so I was talking big, and he's like, oh, go ahead, let's see what you can do. And I got up there and I pretended to be the ShamWow guy. And I'm like, you gotta have one of these. I'm like, you and your fanny pack, you look like a high roller. Get over here. And the guy's like, what? Next thing you know, everybody's laughing, everybody's having fun, and I sold like a lot of his sham, like way more than he sold the whole weekend. Yeah. And the guys were laughing. He couldn't believe it, but I'm like,
yeah, it's all about how you present yourself.
You're going to a show to talk to people. Actually, it was funny because I think they watched this too. So we have the Bass Brothers they have dyno, the tuning, they do tuning and stuff over for more hot rods and muscle cars. Yeah. They have a shop over in Wallingford, and they have work on cars and do some crazy stuff. And then you would go to the shows. I remember we went to a show, and they're all big guys, big biker guys at the time, and so they're sitting there like this. you know, and like eyeballing people, and people are like walking by grabbing their children, you know.
Yeah.
And because they're really great guys, but when you don't know them, they're intimidated.
Right.
So they're like, I don't know why no one's at our booth, and I'm like, what the heck? So one of the guys, Jay, who used to work with them, was more social, and he got up there and started talking to people and bringing people in.
Yeah.
But it's like you're going there to get people to show you what you're doing, and people just like.
Yeah, and you got to. And the thing is, like, what is it called? Resting bitch face.
Yes, I got that.
You know, and I have it too. Sometimes where like sometimes I'm at shows, and everybody has good days and bad days. So, there's been times where I'm there and I don't want to be there if I even drank too much tonight, or I'm hungover, or just tired or whatever. And sometimes I'll sit there myself too, and I have to remind myself, I'm like, if I just look like I'm not having fun, like I could look kind of like intimidating too.
Yes,
so that compared to going out and being friendly and smiling and just initializing conversations with people and being like, hey, what do you drive, and it makes a big difference. Obviously,
it's funny. The RBF cracks me up because that was one of the main reasons when we started the Atomic Works, our first few videos we did, which aren't there. I think they're private now, but we went to shops because there's so many great people that I know that are like that build really cool stuff. But they look angry all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
So I go, if you get them,
and they're nice people.
They're awesome people. Yeah. But if you just get them talking, you realize they're great people.
Yep.
But it was horrible. The videos were horrible. Like I said, Saturday we got stuff to do, right?
Yeah.
Family. I don't know how you had the time to come here. You got so much crap.
Yeah. Well, I squeezed it in. It's important to me. I want to. This is kind of important to me. So this year I'm really going to push hard with the builds. Now that I got everything set up and going, so. Really excited about it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I want to do some work with you too, and I'm actually we're going to start doing shows again for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
So we're just to go have fun and go to events and do stuff.
Yeah, let me know. I mean, it'd be great for you. Any work you do on any of your clients.
Yeah.
We could get them a sticker, and the cool thing, it'll benefit them because it'll have their entire build on there, but then in turn it'll have you on there as as a sponsor.
Well, I'm actually thinking of it in a different way because which I'll talk to you about like off camera too, is that. Because our shop, we're actually changing everything around. We're trying to do a lot more of our own builds and have fun. But we're doing with sponsorships and companies. So that'd be a great way to promote their, to have.
The other thing, so I'm actually going to have for the speed shops kind of a different page and section, which I'm working on now. So if you go to client builds right now, you'll see, it brings up the person's profile, their page, kind of like a Facebook.
Yep.
But for the speed shops, it'd be a little bit different where you click on the speed shop and then within there, they'll have all their vehicles. Some of the speed shops have 10, 15, 20 cars they built. So it literally display all their vehicles on there, any other information they want on there. And you can literally click into each vehicle and actually see the build of each vehicle as well.
That's real cool.
And then, like you said, if there's any affiliation with sponsors that they have that they work with, you can have all the sponsors on there as well. So that way, even the sponsors get exposure and recognition too from anybody that visits that company.
That's excellent. That's cool.
Yeah.
So now, because your website, actually, it was funny because I didn't know they had a .company. So it's just Builds.Company.
It's Builds.Company, yep. I wonder, you might even be able to put your phone up and scan this. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, it's Builds.Company. I have it on there. I'm on Facebook and Instagram too. My Instagram's not really big. I just started it, so. Yeah. But I figured, I have a foundation of all, because what I will do for Instagram is I'm going to start tagging people I think there's 4 or 5 cars right now that I took pictures of, and I tag them on there as well, just so it links everybody to that. So people go and watch their builds as well.
I think that for you, the best thing you do is get people to go to yours and treat it as their own Instagram because, obviously what's funny about like marketing is Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, they all want people to go to their platform. Yeah. But in reality, you want to get them to go to your website, because that's what you want them at.
Yep. Well, essentially, and it does that because what happens is when I post them, when I capture them on Instagram and tag them, when people go to their build, it'll go to my website for their build.
Excellent.
Right?
Yeah, so it's a backlink. Yeah.
So it's a backlink to that, but at least that way, I'm always the kind of person that wants to, I want everybody to benefit out of anything I always do. So in this way, they also get to benefit because now people get to go to their page, possibly follow them. They get recognition on their page too. And in turn, that will still bring them back to my page.
Yeah, build a community. Yeah, it's really
so builds a community in that regard. So that's kind of essentially what I wanted to do at the end, was really just networking and community within the car community.
I think so. What's funny is you're exactly what I want our podcast to be about, is showing things that people wouldn't normally see. Mm-hmm. They get to see a very unique company, very cool company. They get to see, obviously, you're not just car person, you're very passionate. Work full-time jobs, do this, promote shows, do all that. That's a lot, and people have to respect that. And then, the biggest factor to me is not even any of that. It's just the fact that you came up with the coolest idea. Yeah. And I think this is...
Oh, it's funny because when I came up with that, I was like, I can't believe it. And I searched for a while, and I was like, I want to make sure, I want to make sure, it's not really out there. And there's nothing I could really find. But like I said, I think the bigger challenge of this I started seeing when I started doing it was like every single QR code is individual. So you can't just... if it's a sticker like the Top Build sticker, I can make 1,000 of those easily. Because once I design it, that's it. That's the design. But with the QR codes, I have to make every single QR code. Yeah. And so the website that I do it on creates its own one, but I still have to name each one. I have to then
direct it.
I have to print each one individually for stickers. So it's not where you could just print out 1,000 of these and just have them all done, because they're all individual specific QR codes. Now, for shops, it would probably be a little easier because I could just make one QR code for the entire shop, right? Yeah. And in that, I could.
Yeah, you can upload all their builds on one thing and everything.
Right. So for that, I can make a bunch of stickers for a shop and print out like 500. That'd be easy because it'd be one QR code just to that.
Now, are you gonna have pricing and stuff on your
yeah. So the way I thought about pricing and figured, I want to be fair. I don't want to. So what I kind of brought up was because I have to pay for hosting, right? And so every person has their own, essentially, like, web page. Yep. Typically, if you have a web page, most people don't, but you have to pay for domain name, you have to pay for hosting. Yep. Domain names aren't that expensive. I think they're like usually anywhere from $15 to $20 a year, so that's not a big deal. The hosting part can be expensive for certain
Especially
ones.
The more you get on there, the bigger your files.
Exactly. So I figured, I was like, let me do a subscription base. I was like, everything's subscription these days. Yep. I think people are kind of used to it. I was like, what would be a fair price? So I came out to $45 for the year, which came out to
really
like
good,
which came out to, I think it was like $4 a month or something. It was like under $5 a month.
Yep.
So I thought that was pretty fair because you get a sticker out of it.
Are you going to do it like app-wise paying, or you just go on your website and pay it?
Just go on your website and pay it. Yeah. So if you go on my website, you have the stickers, and you'll actually see all the different color stickers. Yep. And then you just pick whatever you want. And then it's just annual. You pay $45, you're good for the whole year. Yeah, that's and then it's just recurring every year. Yeah. Or if you really want, you can pay monthly if you want. Some people maybe they don't want to pay $45 for the whole year and want to pay like $4 a month.
Yeah, like $45 a year or $75 a month. You pick the option.
Yeah, so I thought that was a pretty fair. You get a sticker. Typically the stickers for these, they cost me about $10 a sticker, but I don't charge for the stickers, so. Yeah. It's kind of part of the membership that you get. So, but the bigger thing is you get your own personal web page with all your social media and everything for less than $5 a month.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. And it's funny because a lot of the website stuff's going up. It's even more for hosting now. It's getting crazy. Yeah. There's certain if you're with.
But there's really right now. There's no website that you could go on that you could put your vehicle with all your social media, videos, modifications. There's nothing like that right now. Yeah. So.
Now there is.
So, now there is. So, and to be able to
now there's someone going to be like, damn, I just missed it.
Yeah. So, it's cool. Like I said, I think it's a really cool concept. I'm going to start making hats soon. I was considering keychains even. Yep. And then that way, if you're with your buddies or something, like, what kind of car you have to just show your keychain. Yeah. You're not going to, if you don't want to wear this, or if your car's not with you. I thought keychains could be
not to because I'm going to start my own. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the QR codes on the back of the leggings, butt of all the girls' leggings.
Oh yeah.
That's all everybody looks at the show. Yep. So you're like, hey.
Yeah. So kind of excited about getting this all pushed out for this year. So I already have, I think, 7 or 8 car shows / meets that I'm going to be a vendor at. So like Broke is definitely one of them. They have 2 a year, so I'll be there. Wrenchler Field for Yukon, I'll definitely be there. CCSU, I'll definitely be at that one too. Dream Ride is a big one, so I'll be there this year because I've been at Dream Ride a couple of years too.
Yeah, I think Glenn does a lot of stuff up there too.
Dream Ride, yeah. So I was actually with him last year at Dream Ride.
Oh, cool.
So I was actually I had my booth next to them. That was a good gig. So yeah. Awesome. So looking forward to it.
So now make sure go to, I'm looking at it, because Builds.Company.
Builds.Company, yep.
Perfect. Check them out, support them, local, Northeast, everything.
Yeah, well, the cool thing is this is actually literally, I could send this to you, because a sticker, you could order this from California.
Oh, that's true too, yeah.
So, there's no weight to it. I just literally send you the sticker. So if you buy it, all you literally do is just get a sticker like this, and slap it on your car, and then I make you the webpage, everything is linked, so by the time it gets to you, you scan it, you're already all set to go.
That's excellent.
So this isn't local. I mean, this could be.
You're
you can pretty much buy this
yeah.
anywhere. I could just ship it to you, and same with the t-shirts too. So
that's it. So everybody in Sweden,
Sweden,
Australia,
yeah, Australia.
It's funny because Sweden, Australia, Canada, Germany, huge car cultures.
Yeah.
And we ship so many products over there. I can't even imagine. Like during COVID, I think like our biggest products that we shipped were like, well, Canada, Sweden, Germany, all those places, and Australia, New Zealand, huge car people too.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
You'll be sending stickers all over the world.
Well, MFest, I don't know if you heard of MFest, but MFest actually originates out of Germany. It's for all M cars, But it became more of a BMW community more than just M cars.
Yeah.
And I mean, in Germany, it's like a culture there.
See, it's weird how big everything. I think it was our first podcast we did was with Torotech, and I was amazed at the site. They're a motorcycle company that do like sport touring parts. It's like a Walmart of motorcycle parts over there. Like everything's so much nice, and it's clean and beautiful and nice. It's great over there.
Yeah.
So all you Germany, if I could speak German, I'd say it. But if not,
the one thing I do want to implement later this year, which I don't have yet, is I actually want to do a kind of like what Instagram has with hearts.
Yeah.
So people could actually heart your vehicle.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking we could even do something fun where like have competitions within the site, be like who has, maybe like the top person with the most likes or the top person with whatever. I don't know. It's something I may be considering possibly
like badges
looking
and
into.
stuff.
So
awesome.
But yeah.
Well, make sure to check them out. It's getting a little cold in here.
Yeah, it is. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
When we built this, I can't display that there's no heat over here, and it's the first part to get cold. So I blew a heater in here, had everything going, and I could just feel it drying. I go, so you got a t-shirt. I go, I feel bad.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Cool. So, but yeah, thank you. I appreciate your time. Thanks for having me.
You too.